Okay, so we are getting very close to the end. Very good evening to all of you. And so this is your weekly credit risk entertainment, Saturday night. First thing to remind you is that tomorrow morning we have a makeup lecture. Unfortunately, I can't be there. I apologize. I have a family function which was planned months ago, so I can't do that. But the class will be in YIA LT7, just downstairs, and we're going to start at 9 o'clock. And I've already sent you guys invitations, so you should have an invitation. Hi, good evening. You should have an invitation in your mailbox. By the way, would you like me to introduce you? We have a new colleague sitting behind you, and you're welcome to say hello later. And her name is Brenda. And she's actually our new tutor. Now, I know you're wondering why is it that we have a new colleague at the end of the year? Well, it wasn't my decision, but everything was already scheduled from September last year. But Brenda actually is from an asset management background. Do you want to introduce yourself? Yeah, so she's from an asset management background from the buy side, and she was on the research and asset allocation and strategy area. So if you want to talk to her, I'm sure she'll be not right now, okay? But I'm sure she'll be more than happy to have discussions with you. Okay. Hello. Hi. How are you? I'm good. Just a reminder that tomorrow there is a class. You do know that, right? There is a class downstairs. We're not starting at 10. We're starting at 9. Huh? Why so early? I'll tell you why so early. You start early, you finish early. Okay? It's what I said. It's what I always say to my boy. Okay, Daddy, why do I have to start work so early? You start early, you finish early. That's it. Okay. I mean, absolutely obvious. Now, so so for today, I just want to cover a few more things. Now, we already talked about index Q last week, last Saturday, and Ryan also already gave you some coverage. So I've actually got some slides that I can show you, and I will, but I think it's not a good use of your time if I cover the slides in too much detail, but you can read it at home. What I would like to do, I've kind of come up with a couple of examples which involve simple calculations, and I think these will be helpful for you, and I strongly encourage you to pay some attention later on when we start going through them. Is this thing working? Yes. Okay. And so just by way of housekeeping, all right, so now we are, so we're here. Today is May 18. So you are, yeah, it is, isn't it? Let me check. Yes, it's May 18. I even got the year correct, 2019. Okay. You will meet with Ryan tomorrow, and then a couple more times, and that's it. And then for us, after tonight, we will meet a couple more times. So next Saturday we'll be here, and then the Saturday after. The exam is on Sunday, June the 9th, because I think we have a farewell party on June 10th. You don't want to do an exam after the farewell party. That doesn't make sense. So you know about this, and now this is the what we're going to do next week, as you must remember, is I want to start earlier next week, please. So if we start from 6 to 8, so next week we have 2 hours before Plato kicks me out, and we will have, I think, I'm looking forward to hearing your presentations. So that'll be next week. Okay. And as you know, you need to hand it in the day before. So on Friday, May 24, before the lecture, please. This is on purpose. We don't want people to start or to keep doing their project during Ryan's lecture. I know it happens, okay? This is to prevent that from happening. You guys, have you started working on that? You haven't? Oh, all right. Well, anyway, here's a reminder. And also, please remember that the peer review applies, as I explained earlier. Okay. If you have any questions on that, let me know. But I think I explained that quite clearly. So your score will be, the raw score for the team will be adjusted depending on what is your peer review. And like I said, if you guys work very happy as one big happy family, feel free to give everybody a 5. Yeah. But it will be confidential. Okay? Nobody knows what scores we give anybody else except me and Ryan. All right. So next week we'll start at 6. Actually, the week after, I'm thinking I probably also want to start at 6. The reason is I want to give you more time. That will be the last time we meet before the exam. And I just want to seize the last opportunity. Because we're going to do that CTE thing, and I lose 15 minutes. So this is to make up for that in a way. And then we have a bit more time. But between now and then, if you have any questions, so feel free always to ask me. Do not hesitate. Write me a note. I will respond to you. Okay. Now, so these are the slides that I have done for credit skew arbitrage. But I think you know what that is, so I'm not going to go through this. What I will do is, we talked about all of that last week. And these are actually some prices that you see on different types of credit indices. You guys are okay on that now? Now, these slides are already on Blackboard, so feel free to download and make notes if you want to. Where's the arbitrage? We discussed that too. Tiny amount of, and they really are very small. Tiny amount of divergence, and you just magnify it by applying an enormous leverage. Now, I want to go straight to a case. Actually, here, this one is probably worth. So, what I'm saying here is, and I'll read it out. So the lesson here is, and we talked about this last year. This is how we finished when we were working on those mark-to-market problems. And I said the lesson here is, even if you have a rock-solid arbitrage, I told you that the index and the different CDSs are actually the same thing. So right at the end, at maturity, you know they have to square up. But in between, the divergence can get even worse. And if you trip over in the short run, you never get to your destination in the long run. Because of mark-to-market hurting you. You know what I mean by that? Yeah. Do you know of any famous incidents? Something similar. Something similar happened. Can anyone think of, a famous incident in history when there's a good arbitrage, but they just went too far? Now, which one? Oh, bingo. That was exactly. Do you guys know about this story? Long-term capital management. Now, you should, because it was such a famous example, and they've written books and made movies out of that. So LTCM, just very briefly, was a hedge fund that was set up in the 1990s, and they had some very famous people, including I think Myron Scholes and Robert Merton. So you know about the Black-Scholes Merton option pricing model. So they got 2 out of the 3 guys in that hedge fund, and they were doing these arbitrages with tiny amounts of profit using some kind of empirical research, and they really leveraged it up 40, 50 times. So in the end, it just blew up in their face, precisely the scenario that I have been describing to you. Do you know the meaning of positive? You understand the term positive carry? Do you know what that means? Do you all understand what positive carry means? Huh? Positive carry is, or negative carry for that matter, okay, is if you are an investor, this is just a terminology, okay? So you are an investor. So let's say you borrow from a bank and you are borrowing at dollar LIBOR plus 20, let's just say 20. And then you go out there to the bond market and it's the other way around. So they give you $100 and you borrow at LIBOR plus 20. So let's say you use that $100 and you buy some kind of floating rate note, which will then pay you LIBOR plus, let's say 50. Let's just say 50, it doesn't matter. Because you've got 50 coming in, or LIBOR plus 50 coming in, you've got LIBOR plus 20 going out. So by definition, we say that you have positive cap. That's all it means. It just means that your income is greater than your expenses. That's positive carry. you can think about it in a different way. So maybe you bought an apartment. So this term can be applied. It's just two words in English put together. So maybe you bought an apartment. So this is you. And then, every month, somebody is paying you rent, $25,000. And then maybe so this is the tenant. And then you are paying the bank some interest, which is 18,000. So there, technically, you can go around telling people, oh, I have a positive carry, and you do. Okay, that's so carry or cost of carry is the same as, I guess, cost of funding. You can understand it like this. So positive carry means you have positive funding, or the trade is funding itself. Okay. There is a saying out there. People like to say the road to ruin is paved with positive carry. You even find that on Google. Traders say that all the time. It means that if you are doing these trades, which are giving you tiny positive profit, the ruin is paved with good intentions. No. You see? Google can guess what I'm thinking. The road to hell. Okay, not okay. Yeah. It's paved with positive carry. So that means if hell was over there, now here. So I'm looking at the road, and the road is full of positive carry. You understand what they're trying to say? Yeah. Anyway, that's the saying. Now, what I want to do actually is I want to take this time to show you a couple of examples of the sort of trades that Ryan has been talking to you about. And this one, I call it structured credit trade mental checklist. So it's just a way to for us to think systematically. Now, when you are doing the kind of trades that Ryan has been talking about, you are probably starting to notice that they are revolving around certain themes. And what kind of themes are we talking about? So first of all, why would banks do it? A bank writes off debt. Why do they do that? It's always about profit. And maybe doing a trade a different way, you would decrease or minimize, or maybe even completely eliminate the capital requirement. Now, you do understand what I'm saying here, right? That's what I'm looking to make sure. You understand? That banks like Ryan, so they want to make profit clearly, but also sometimes they want to help themselves. And for the customer on the other side, so frequently the motivations are similar, especially when your customer is a bank of some kind, maybe a more sort of low-tech bank, not a high-tech bank, a low-tech bank. Then you want to lower your funding costs sometimes, or you want to either decrease or reduce or minimize or maybe completely get rid of capital requirements. Now that sometimes happens, sometimes it doesn't, but it's got to be one of these. And it's worth thinking about just exactly why are we doing something like this. And then you should also think about the cash flows. And I imagine you should think about what is the best case and what is the worst case of these trades. And now let's take a look at this one. So this one is an example of a potential index arbitrage. Now the clock now says 20 minutes. So I would suggest if you already know this very well, then it's good. But if you don't, so either you pay attention, or I mean you should pay attention here. But if I lose you, feel free to go home and then just fast forward to 20 minutes. Okay. So we have a trade, and it's the iTraxx Australia. Now this is just an index, it doesn't matter. And so this index currently is paying 1.35% per annum, and every CDS is offering 1.1. So immediately, I'm going to try and interpret that for you line by line. So before I even go any further, I can see, all right, there's a 25 basis point difference, correct? Yeah? So one thing at a time. There's 25 basis points up for grabs. And underlying collateral is paying LIBOR plus 180. Now, if you are not entirely sure what is going on, I'm going to draw the flow diagrams, and then it will become clear to you. And then there's a DV01. Now, remember we discussed that last time? Yes. I wanted to tell you because I knew it's going to pop up everywhere. So let's say the delta value or the PVBP or the annuity value is 4. Make sure you understand what that is so far, okay? And then profit target. So if you are SocGen, you want to make 1% up front and leverage 30 times. What is the question? Oh, what would be SPV's coupon offered for the details below? And there's a gap charge. Oh, hold on. Does anyone want to have a go at this question? First of all, even if you can't do it, you have to be clear. What are they asking you? Okay, it's the SPV coupon. Now, how would you do something like that? Okay, take a deep breath, first of all. Actually, copied and paste this onto the, can you read that? Can you read that? It's the same thing. I think I might have to write. Right, okay. Now, so let me try and draw the diagram, and I'm going to start with, a diagram always helps. I'm going to start with the investor or the customer. Now, the customer will give you $100 on start date. So this is, let's just say SG, okay? Why not? So this is the bank, and what SG will do is, yeah, yes, this is a SPV, okay, SSP, thank you, special purpose vehicle. So what they do is they will pay away this $100, first of all, to, you know, maybe the bond market, so that they can get LIBOR plus 180. Well, don't keep going, huh? Keep prompting me. And if I make a mistake, yell, okay? And then there's like a SG credit derivative desk. Now, what you're doing here is you want to receive, of course, the higher one, which is 135, correct? This one. And you want to pay away. This is all on tape, guys, so if you are lost, have no fear, but you shouldn't be lost so early, okay? And you're going to pay away 110. This is the arbitrage. This part is the, I mean, you may not see it like that, but that's what's actually happening. So you receive 135 and you pay away 110. And what is the size of this trade? Is it for $100? Is 30 times leverage? You know, I think practically every single number here has a function, although that's not always the case, but here, so I've already made use of this number, I've made use of this number, I've made use of this number, and I'm about to make use of this number 30 times, okay? Now, there are a number of things I haven't done yet. So there's a DV01 of 4 and a profit target of 1%, and there's a gap charge. Did Ryan explain what that is? No? Okay, I'll do that now. The gap charge is this. So I already told you that the arbitrage is for 25 basis points. And it will be 30 times over. Now, what is 25 times 30 is 7.5%. But I'm not going to give you all of that. I, meaning I'm SocGen, I'm going to take a gap charge. In other words, I'm going to take a deduction. And if the gap charge was 10%, now this is the maximum I can give you. If I make absolutely no profit whatsoever. But before I even make any profit, I don't want to give you this. I'm going to give you 90%. So this is the 90% is basically 100% minus the gap charge, which currently is set at 10. Are you with me there? Okay, so maximum I can actually give is quite a lot. It's massive leverage. It's crazy. It's a crazy trade. Okay, so 7, and people really do that. Okay, so 7.5% I can give you, but I'm not going to. So this looks like when you multiply the whole thing, it's going to be 6.75. Yeah, that is after you include this 90% here. Now, I'm not going to give you that either because I want to make some money. So now I've made use of this parameter. So the final one is, well, there are two. So we haven't made use of this. We haven't made use of that. If I want to make 1% of profit up front, and the DV01 of this trade is 4, how can I do the calculation, do you think? Now, if I don't make any money, actually you are kind of making money because the gap charge is just an additional deduction. But what you do, what if I don't give you 675? What if I just give you 670, okay, instead of 675? What would be my profit in that case? 5 BP per annum. Hold on. Well, I'm running out of space. 5 BP per annum. So what is the present value of that? Very good. Okay, is 20. Why 20? Because the DV01 is 4. Okay. So I actually now it's the other way around. So this will be 0.2. But I actually want to make how much? 1%, which is 5 times of that. So that means if I take 25 basis points off per annum, that will get me there. So that means minus 25 basis points per annum. So that becomes 650. So the answer is here, what you can offer to the client will be dollar LIBOR plus 180 plus 650 basis points per annum. The 180 just came from here, but the 650 is the one you calculated just now. Is everyone okay with that? Have I made a mistake? So it's LIBOR plus 830. It's a crazy trade. Okay, yeah. The 25 BP. So I said, after I take the gap charge, the maximum I can give them, so the gap charge is just to be conservative. So I said this was the maximum, but I won't give them that. I'm going to take a cut to begin with. This is not necessarily, the profit. So the maximum I can give them now is only 675, but I'm not going to give you that because I need to make some money. How much do I want to make? Now I have a profit target of 1% up front. And for this trade, if 1 basis point, 1 BP per annum is equal to 4 cents, and the 4 comes from, because the DV01 is 4, if 1 basis point is equal to 4 cents in today's money, then 25 basis points per annum will give me that $1. Are you with me? You sure? I know you are, but the guy on your 4 o'clock. Absolutely. Yeah. Sometimes you might have noticed, because it is very easy, to confuse 1 basis point per annum. Bankers frequently talk about, so let's say you are buying a bond. You're buying a bond, and the bond is currently priced at par 117. And then a client comes to you and says, hey, can you improve 1 basis point? What they really mean is, can you improve 1 cent? So they want to buy it at par 116, let's say. Now, I try not to confuse you that way. So when I'm talking cents, I am talking cents. So when I'm talking basis points, I'm referring to per annum basis points. But there are practitioners out there who's quite liberally interchange one to the other, and then you get really confused. What do you mean basis point? You mean per annum? No, I mean upfront. Oh, you mean 1 cent? Yes, I do. Okay, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I'm trying to separate them. So when I say basis points, I really mean the per annum basis points. Otherwise, I'm going to try and use cents and dollars. Okay. Are you all right with that? Is everyone quite happy? You don't look happy. Some do. Is everyone okay? Yeah. Okay. Now, very good. So Tianwen just made the comment that in Ryan's case, he used the money to buy U.S. Treasuries. Now, what would happen if you do that? I guess before you even answer that question, you can ask yourself, well, what is the worst case scenario here if I am able to invest in this trade for the full 5-year period and nothing blew up? The worst case is whatever you bought that was paying LIBOR plus 180. Now, we haven't said what the collateral is. It is just something sitting in the SPV, generate that funding, but if that blew up, you can suffer a loss. So there is, an additional credit risk kind of sitting there. So what you can do is, like Tianwen just said, if you don't buy some kind of credit instrument, but instead you buy government bonds, well, you can, but it won't be paying you LIBOR plus 180. Quite likely, it's going to be paying you LIBOR minus, let's say LIBOR minus 50. So treasuries are definitely sub-LIBOR. Okay. In fact, well, I can show you what it's likely to. Okay, now first of all, let me we can check that by first looking at the 5-year swap rate. So 5-year swap rate at the moment is 2.1. Let's just say 2.15. You can see that, right? And I'm going to check U.S. Treasury rates. I wonder where who knows where the 5-year, what the 5-year U.S. Treasuries are paying? Could be an interview question. 2.17. Oh, are they exactly the same? What did I say was the swap rate again? Huh? 2.15. Okay, so it's going to pay you. So what you might end up doing is, so you buy the treasury at 2.15, and then you can organize actually to swap that by paying that away, 2.15, and then somebody will pay you LIBOR flat. How do I know that? Because we just checked the interest rates. Swaps. Yeah, 2.15. So you just get LIBOR flat. So you don't get that extra 180 basis point pickup. That's it. So the answer simply will change by 180. So so now before you were getting paid LIBOR plus 830, which is huge. Now you just get paid LIBOR plus 650. Is that okay? Yeah. Now so I hope you guys are okay with that. Let me have a go at another example. And no, this is the one we just did. So you should be able to work out something like this. And just remember how to apply the gap charge. If in doubt, I will, like I said, I will share these with you from tutorial 2 onwards. I'd rather do it this weekend, actually. Okay. I think there was an earlier version up to week 5 or week 6. Now let's have a look at another one. I hope that is useful for you guys. Now this one is repo to maturity. I understand that was the topic that you talked about a couple of lectures ago. So there's a client, I won't say which country, some country, where they grow bananas. Remember the Banana Republic? Remember I told you about that? All right, so there's a client from a bank which isn't very high tech, and this client at the moment has a funding cost when they go out and borrow, which is equal to LIBOR plus 150, so it's not exactly cheap. So this bank is probably not a very good one. If you want to borrow a LIBOR flat, or close to LIBOR flat, you have to be probably somewhere in the AA or AA minus area. It's probably worth just mentioning that, I mean, you all know LIBOR is likely to be the most important benchmark in the world. And so LIBOR is the rate where big banks can borrow huge amounts of money in the short-term money market from each other. So you're probably wondering, well, you just told me that this Banana Republic Bank has to borrow at LIBOR plus 150. So who actually borrows at LIBOR? Now, if you are ever curious, you can go to Google and just type LIBOR panel banks, and you should see a list of banks here. You have visited this page many times. Yes, I really have. LIBOR evolution benchmark methodology. The future, okay, I don't need to know that. 16 contributors, probably okay, here we go. Now, so who is likely to borrow at LIBOR? It wouldn't be LIBOR flat for everybody, okay? But banks who are likely to be able to borrow close to LIBOR would be this bunch here. And I guess you should know all of them. At Barclays, BNP, Citibank, Rabobank is Dutch, Credit Agricole, Credit Suisse, Deutsche Bank, HSBC, JP Morgan. So big and well-established, AA rated financial institutions. SocGen is there as well, the London branch. Okay, now let's get back to this. So what you have is now this we call them the client. So typically, a bank like SocGen or a bank like BNP, a bank like Deutsche would deal with a lot of other financial institution customers, hedge funds, insurance companies, asset managers, but they also deal with a lot of commercial banks, like, let's say, Shanghai Pudong Development Bank. I'm not saying there is a bad bank, I'm not. It's an example of someone that I used to deal with, for instance. So that kind of a relative profile. Okay? So that client currently has $100 million worth of this country's government bonds, which is due in 5 years. And that bond is trading at a premium at the moment. Is everyone okay with that so far? Now, never mind whether you can do this question, but at least you understand line by line what's going on. So let's assume that there is a 30% haircut for repo trade, and currently the 5-year credit default swap for this country is priced at 250 basis points. And 5-year dollar swap rate right now is 1.3%, close. It was 2 point something, wasn't it? And assuming a bank, well, it will be your bank or you, assuming you provide a 5-year funding trade for the client to repo to maturity at LIBOR plus 80. And further assume that the DV01 is equal to 4. What's the question? Huh? Oh, what an interesting comment. I look at all these, I'm going to figure out what the question is now. Huh? The cash flows for a start. Yeah. The profit. Yeah, the profit. The dollar profit. The actual dollar profit. Okay. Sorry, I missed out the most important part. Okay. So here we have it. And now my advice to you is to get comfortable with this kind of transaction and also the format that it is put to you. It is what they do in the credit world, day after day, every day. And let's try and go through this, okay? You can see that there are numbers flying around. So funding, this client borrows at LIBOR plus 150 if they borrow outside. And because you have promised to fund them at LIBOR plus 80, so there's got to be some benefit for them. Immediately you can pick that point up because it's 70 basis points cheaper. Now, how would you, first of all, you can take a step back. Ryan was trying to impress upon you that when you are dealing with a client like Banana Republic, you have to kind of think from their point of view, which is to say you may not be very comfortable with the credit of that country, but they are. And that's all that matters. So you do whatever they are comfortable with, you do whatever they want, with some cost benefit, and everybody is happy. So what we are looking to do here, and let me try and draw the flow diagrams. Now I've got the terms here. You see all of that? I think that's everything. But I might have to wipe this off. I'm sorry. Or can I actually move that somewhere else? Oh, yes, I can. I'm going to move that. How can I move that somewhere else? Oh, wow. Move that to the next session. Here we go. Okay, so now I got plenty of space up here. Can you see all the terms? Okay. This is exactly what you were shown just now. Except there's no question. Bless you. There's no question. What was the question? Solve for the dollar. I want to know the actual exact dollar profit of this trade. Thank you. Now the boxes, I would recommend actually if you were asked a question like that in the exam, you start drawing boxes. It always clarifies things. And the first box I'll draw is to have the client on one side and then you at the bank, so let's just say SG, and all right, now let's make use of these numbers one by one. So what the client will do is the client is going to surrender to you the bond they're going to give you this bond, which is actually currently priced at 105. Thank you. So it's at a slight premium. They will give you this bond, or they technically sell it to you they sell it to you. That's why it's called a repo. So there is a commitment for them to buy it back actually at the same price. So I will write that in red, maybe. So they have a commitment to buy back the bond but now this is actually, they're not giving you cash, they're giving you the bond. This is the bond, okay, in square brackets. So they give you the bond and you are going to give them some money. The question is, how much? Now, first of all, it's for 100 million, and the bond is currently in at a premium, but there is a haircut. Thank you. There's a 30% haircut. Now, this is actually the cash that you're going to give them. So this is the bond. I'll put a B next to it so you don't get confused. This is actually cash. You give them money. And okay. And what you do is, so SG will do two things, or three things. They will sell the bond, but they don't actually sell the entire amount. Very good. So you sell 100 million face value times 105 times 70%. Now, again, I'll put it in square brackets and I'll put a B next to it. So this is, they're selling the bond into the bond market. And you're going to get cash. So you will get this amount of money times 105 times 70%. Again, I put it in square brackets. This is cash. You actually get some money. And now what they do, they only sold 70%. So there is actually another 30%, which they will put away under the pillow. Well, not exactly, it's a custodian. C-U-S-T-O-D-I-A-N, custodian. So they're just going to put that bond away. Okay, I'll write it the other way around. So they're going to put that bond away. So this is 100 million times 105 times 30%. So they haven't sold the entire bond, and this is going to provide, this will continue to provide a 4% coupon. And in addition, they will go to a credit derivative desk and actually sell protection, P-R-O-T, in order to receive 250 basis points per annum. Now, I think that's the diagram. Okay. 250 basis points per annum. Yeah. Notional for, good question. This is the notional, very good question. The notional amount for this, and you got to be careful, is 100 million times 105% times 70. Okay. Notional principal. I'll tell you why this is the notional principal. Okay. Now, you imagine this client, if they just do it the traditional way and they just simply buy this bond. So if it was just a simple, pure funded purchase, so they came with some cash. So the amount of money they would need is 105 million, correct? To buy this bond. Now, what is happening now is, so this is the old-fashioned way, but now what they have is they have two exposure. The first exposure is that 105 multiplied by 30%. That is the part that is sitting with the custodian. Effectively this one, which is a bond, so that should come with a B. So that is their first exposure. Now the second exposure is 100 million times 105% times 70%. Now if you were to add them up, what's 105 times 30%? What is that? $31.5 million. So they have $31.5 million of real, actual, physical, plain vanilla exposure. Now, so you sold a CDS, so the worst thing that can happen to you is if this Banana Republic government blew up and you have like zero recovery value, you lost everything, then your worst case will simply be the product of all of these. What is that? So 73.5, okay? So when you add them up, your exposure on the start date is actually exactly equivalent to your cash long only exposure. Are you with me? Yeah? So that is why some people might be wondering, why is it 104? Why not 100? Okay, that is the reason. You are trying to create an equivalent exposure. Okay? Now, if you're okay with this, and like I said, please get comfortable. And if you're not, you can always go home, and if you've got problems sleeping, then watch the video. All right. Now for the bank, so imagine you are from SG's point of view, and you can basically divide them into cash in and cash out. That's what I like to do. Now, what is cash in item number 1? That would be the borrowing costs that the client is going to pay you. Let me call that A. So A is actually funding for this leg. So what's happened is a number of things. So the client gave you a bond, the whole bond. You gave them some money, but it depends on how you look at it. You look at it as sell and then they buy back. Another way to look at it is they basically pay you this as collateral for the borrowing. And this is how I'm going to look at it, at least for now, because item A should be 100 million multiplied by 105%, multiplied by 70, because that's all you're lending them, multiplied by the funding cost, which is, what is it? LIBOR plus 150. LIBOR plus 80. LIBOR plus 80. So dollar LIBOR plus 80 basis points. Oh, no, it's cash in because this is the money that you will collect from the client when they are paying you interest. So this arrow goes this way. So you give them, I don't know what is there a highlighter here? No. This is a highlight, no. So you give them this money, but they have to pay you back a repo rate. No, A is every quarter or every 6 months. Correct. It's the client's funding cost. So their cost is your benefit. So you are trying to present value all the cash flows that you will get by lending them this money. Okay, now there's a trick. You're wondering, how the hell do I do this? So I know what is 100 million times 105% times that. So I know what that is, but how do I deal with this? Now this is actually quite easy. All you got to do, you say to yourself, well, I don't know how much is LIBOR plus 80 basis. I don't know how much that is worth. Well, imagine that if you were to do a swap, which you can with JP Morgan, and then you pay them LIBOR plus 80 basis points, what are they going to pay back to you? Well, you know that because the 5-year swap rate is 1.3. So therefore, if you pay LIBOR plus 80, they're going to pay you 1.3 plus 0.8%, which is equal to 2.1% per annum. So now you know this is what you're going to get in fixed rate terms over 5 years. And if you have the DV01, which I think you do, then you can work out exactly how much it is worth today. Do we have a DV01? 4. Okay. So this cash flow is actually worth $8.40. I'm going to use dollar signs here. So 8.40. So you are going to get $8.4 million. In present value, you're not going to get it all in one go, but in present value terms, if somebody asks you today, how much money have you made from this trade? What can I put in my financial report? $8.4 million, thank you very much. No, hold on, I have to I'm going to multiply by this stuff here. My apologies. It's not 8.4. It's Now, all you need to do is multiply 100, forget the million. So 105 times 0.7 times 0.084, 6.174. Did you get that? Yes. Okay, that gives me some reassurance. Either we're both correct or we're both wrong. Okay. So did you get 6.17? Okay. Well, Professor Yang, yeah. So he got 6.17 too. Okay. Is everyone okay with that? Now, cash in, item number 2, or item B, your CDS. So you are going to get 2.5%. This diagram is getting busy. So B is right here. Okay, there's the credit default swap. So you are going to get 2.5%, and then you multiply that by the DV01, multiply that by 100 million, multiply that by 105%, multiply that by 70%. What do you get? 7.35. So 0.025 times 4, that's 10%, times 105, times 70%, 7.35 million. Did you get that? Okay, so you are going to receive that from the CDS. Now there is a third element, C. Please remember that at maturity, they are going to buy the bond back from you, and because you actually split the bond on day one into a kind of 30-70 combination, on the last day, if nothing blew up at maturity, even if something blows up, SocGen doesn't have any risk. Okay, that's the beauty of it. But at maturity, what will happen is that the client will pay back, thank you, in cash. What is the amount? So the amount will be 100 million multiplied by 105 multiplied by 70. No, just 105. Okay. So at maturity, they are going to give you, they promise to buy the bond back. and you are going to give them back either the bond, or if it hasn't defaulted, you just give them back the par value, let's say. So you are the bank. Now, if it hasn't defaulted, then it doesn't matter what you give them. You give them back the bond on that day, it's worth 100 anyway. So this is SG, but you've actually got from the custodian, part of the bond is coming back to you. Times 105 times, I beg your pardon, it's going to be par now. Okay? So that is $30. So they give you 105, and you give them back, hold on a second. Is that correct? This. Oh yes, now it squares. I beg your pardon. Yeah, yes. Yeah. Now just hold on a second, okay? So this amount here is what? 73.5 million. So you got 73.5 coming in, and you've got another 30. So that is par 03.5, and then you only pay back the par value. You basically you give them back the bond, or you pay back the par value. So you have an extra profit of $3.5 million, which is actually part of the bond premium with the haircut, okay, times the haircut. So that part is also your profit. Now this is actually a future value, but it looks like I haven't given you the discount factor. So if there was a question and I haven't given you the discount factor, you just, well, for today, you just assume that, you know, the present value, because I haven't given it to you. But anyway, so these are all the cash in. So this amount here, and this amount, and this one needs to be turned into a present value. Now, what is the cash out? The cash out is just one thing. The cash out is, so you already have 4% coupon paid from 30% of the face value, because you are keeping that part of the bond with the custodian. I'll put face value here, face value. So what you need to do is to actually produce a 4% coupon but only on a 70% principal, but you're going to do that over a 4-year period. So you're going to multiply that by 4, a 5-year period, sorry, the DVO one is 4. So that should be equal to so that is 16% or $16 million times 0.7. So that's 11.2 million. Okay. Now your P&L is simply the cash in, so 6.17 plus 7.35 plus 3.5 minus your cash out. I'm sorry, this is a future value, okay? I think we should give you a discount factor, but in the absence of that, if you just add that, so the answer is, so your profit should be 6.17 plus 7.35 plus 3.5 minus 11.2. What does that amount to? 6.17 plus 7.35 plus 3.5, 6.17 plus 7.35 plus 3.5 minus 11.2, $5.82 million. I am glad this trade is still profitable. I was beginning to wonder. You are making money. You make around $6 million with the numbers as they are. Is everyone okay with that? I'm sorry if I confused you along the way. I actually was trying to figure out what happened at maturity. So at maturity, so with the client, it's easy. So you just give them back the bond or the face value, but they will repurchase from you the bond by just returning the amount of money that originally you lent to them, which is this amount of money. And because you have to pay 100 and you have 30 coming in, and they pay you 73.5, so you actually have par 03.5 coming in, but you only need to pay par, so you get to keep that $3.5 million. Okay? Is everyone okay with that? If you are doing super well. I think. Is that right? Okay. So if you talk, feel free to go home and go to the YouTube. And then, like I said, I think I must let you have these notes. And when you review the notes and you watch the video, it should make more sense to you. Okay? So you take a step back and, okay, let's try not to get lost in all that detail. What has the client actually done? I'll tell you what they've done. Before, if it was a purely funded trade, then they would have needed to borrow this amount of money, the entire amount of money at LIBOR plus 150. Now they don't have to borrow the entire amount of money at LIBOR plus 150 because 70% of the financing is being provided by SG at a cheaper rate. How much cheaper? 70 basis points cheaper. So part of it is funded cheaper, but for that, Ryan likes to say that economics don't change in the sense that because I am able to manufacture the credit income from a credit derivative, which actually is paying me more, I can just give that 4% coupon to the customer every quarter or every half year. That's all they want. 4% per annum. They're quite happy. They're happy with two things. They're happy to take a 4% annual coupon, number one, and they're happy to take the credit risk of Banana Republic to go with it. And we are doing that. It's just that now we are doing it not with a bond or a small part of the bond, 30%, but the other 70% we are generating that with credit derivatives. And so they get the same income, but the funding is cheaper. So the last relevant question to ask is for the client, does it actually reduce their capital requirement? I think in this case, actually, it does not. If you recall, in the previous tutorial, I think there were some notes near the end where I mentioned, I'll just very quickly go there, where I mentioned the capital requirements of a repo versus the securities lending versus total return swaps. So for the repos, the asset actually is still on the balance sheet, so there's full requirement. I think this page actually will help you think clearly. So it doesn't help their capital requirements, but it would help their costs, okay? All right, so I'm going to stop here. And so please say hello to Ryan tomorrow at 9. And I'll see you guys here next week. We start at 6 p.m., not 6:30, okay? Thank you, everyone, and have a very nice evening. If you haven't signed your attendance, yeah, so here's your last chance. Thank you.